In Jeremiah 18, verse 6, God speaks through the prophet to reveal a profound truth about his sovereignty and our dependence upon him. O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter, saith the Lord? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand. This imagery of the potter and the clay is a powerful reminder of God's authority, his care, and his transformative work in our lives. In ancient times, the potter's wheel was a common sight, with skilled hands shaping unformed clay into vessels of purpose and beauty. The clay in the potter's hands has no will of its own. It yields completely to the potter's touch, allowing him to mold it as he desires. In this metaphor, we are the clay, and God is the potter. He is the creator, the master craftsman, shaping our lives according to his perfect will. The clay starts as formless and unrefined, much like our lives before God begins his work in us. On our own, we are marred by sin, lacking direction and purpose. Yet, in his hands, we are shaped into something beautiful and useful for his glory. Just as the potter adds water to soften the clay, God pours out his Spirit to make our hearts pliable and responsive to his touch. Yielding to the potter's hands requires humility and trust. Clay does not resist. It does not dictate its shape or purpose. Likewise, we must surrender our plans, desires, and ambitions to God, trusting that his design for our lives is far greater than anything we could imagine. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." Sometimes, the potter discovers imperfections in the clay, a hard lump or a flaw that threatens the vessel's integrity. The potter doesn't discard the clay. Instead, he works it again, reshaping and refining it. In the same way, God uses trials, corrections, and even our failures to mold us. Hebrews 12:10 explains that his discipline is for our benefit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. There are moments when the shaping process may feel painful or difficult. The pressure of the potter's hands, the spinning of the wheel, and the fire of the kiln are all necessary to transform the clay into a finished vessel. God's shaping often involves breaking down old patterns, purging sin, and refining our character. Yet, this process is always done with love, care, and the intention to create something of eternal value. God's ultimate goal is to shape us into vessels that bring him glory. 2 Timothy 2:21 speaks of being a vessel unto honor, sanctified, and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. He molds us to serve his purposes, equipping us for the roles he has prepared in his kingdom. As the potter shapes the clay, he also has the power to remake it. If the vessel becomes marred or broken, the potter does not abandon it, but patiently begins again. This speaks to God's mercy and grace. No matter how far we have strayed or how broken we feel, he can remake us. Lamentations 3:22-23 assures us, "It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." Ultimately, the potter and the clay illustrate the relationship between a sovereign God and his people. He is not only shaping us individually, but also collectively as his church. We are his workmanship. Ephesians 2:10, created in Christ Jesus for good works that he prepared beforehand. To yield to the potter is to embrace a life of surrender, trusting in his wisdom and submitting to his loving hands. As we allow him to mold us, we become vessels of honor, bearing witness to his grace and reflecting his glory to the world. Let us remain soft, pliable, and willing in the hands of the master, confident that his design for us is perfect and good.